Hi guys, what the heck is Paul Scully doing on NewsNight? The guy doesn't seem to have two brain cells to rub together. Perhaps to provide balance. So Victoria Derbyshire put it to her guests, the issue of the economy and Keir Starmer's desire to have a better relationship with the EU. The Prime Minister has ruled out on a number of occasions the idea of rejoining or bringing back freedom of movement. However, when the reality of Brexit was presented to Scully, he started talking about other countries around the world and then came up with the stupidest defence of leaving the EU ever. Have a listen.
Paul Scully, can the UK get all this growth without a serious renegotiation with the EU?
I think Keir Starmer's made his views clear about what he wants to do with the EU. I think yes, they can. I think they can. I think they can because for me, I supported leaving the EU because of political control more than anything else. But I think if you have continued to talk to the EU and you find ways that actually it satisfies both the EU and the UK, then you can actually have a mutual trading operation. But actually, don't forget, there's so much opportunity for other countries as well, especially in Asia.
I think the issue that Labour's got is they don't want to reopen this issue of Brexit, as we very clearly saw in that interview over there. And where we are as a country with sluggish growth, real productivity issues, one of the first things that you'd look to do is look at what you can do to reduce barriers to trade with your nearest trading bloc. Unfortunately, in the last 7 or so years, the UK has put up those trading barriers. It's absolutely bonkers when you look at what's been going on with our economy. But Labour obviously don't want to go there. Obviously, there are other things that you can do to try and boost growth. It's also very difficult, I think, because, it's not like we can go knocking on the EU's door and rejoin the single market and customs union tomorrow. I think that would be difficult, probably politically, but also from a substantive perspective. The EU's moved on from Brexit, but we can't get away from the fact that that we had an impact on leaving the EU had a big impact on trade and therefore on GDP.
But we've also had a sluggish growth for about 20 years. If you actually look at average growth around that time, big dips and what have you.
Yeah,
and there was 2 years. There was a 2 years hiatus after. There was a 2 years hiatus when we had that hiatus in Parliament as well.
But you cannot deny that putting up trading barriers with your closest neighbour is not good economic policy.
But that's a two-way street.
Every fiscal forecast by the Office for Budget Responsibility in recent years has talked about how it's a 4% hit to GDP.
But what I'm saying, but it's a two-way hit. So.
It's a two-way hit. He said it once and then didn't think, actually, that was a stupid thing to say. I better not repeat it. No, he repeated it. This is like saying, well, what we've done is we've set fire to our own house. Our house is burning, but don't worry, some of the flames are going to spread to our neighbour's house. Well, it's not going to damage our neighbour's house as much as ours, but it's a two-way street. This is insane. Has the EU been impacted by Brexit? Yes, of course it has. Countries like Germany, Ireland, France, they have been impacted because of the trade they do with the United Kingdom. Did Ireland, France, Germany want Brexit? Of course they didn't. Ireland in particular has had to make massive changes to how it trades with the UK since Brexit. It had invested huge amounts of money in avoiding the land bridge. So trucks would no longer, or fewer trucks would go from Dublin through England and Wales to get to France. So they're bypassing it in a certain sense. This is a huge cost. This is an impact of Brexit. Now, how do you sell that as a benefit? It's not a benefit to Britain. It's not a benefit to Ireland. It's not a benefit to France. There are some benefits to these countries, but generally Brexit has been a disaster for the EU and a disaster for Britain. But Paul Scully sees it as, well, it's a two-way street. We've imposed economic sanctions upon ourselves, and indirectly what we've done is we've imposed economic sanctions on the EU. So that's a benefit. That's a wonderful solution. We used to be able to trade freely with the EU, but we decided we don't want that anymore. Now, in other ways, of course, EU member states are impacted by Brexit because many small businesses that used to trade with Great Britain are no longer trading with Great Britain. Small businesses in Great Britain are no longer trading with the EU. But the difference for the small businesses in the EU is that they can find other markets much more easily. While in Great Britain, you're stuck with Great Britain or the UK. Northern Ireland is a separate case, of course. But what is Paul Scully doing on Newsnight? Is it like we have the intelligent people on and then we have to bring on the village idiot? That's what it sounds like. But it's not a benefit to ordinary people. There's no value in Paul Scully's opinion. And notice at the beginning he said, yeah, it's perfectly okay for Keir Starmer to try and push for growth outside the EU with continuing these trade barriers. And it's not just trade barriers, it's also barriers to workers. Immigration rules are still the same, and there doesn't seem to be any plan to reform that. So it's going to be difficult to grow your economy, to attract investment, if you're going to say we're going to stick with trade barriers and we're not going to bring in the workers that we need. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.